Yo, what's good, everyone? This is Ayo Box Madiba, and we're here to discuss Brandun Lee's next move. So, Brandun Lee, a top prospect at 140, turning contender. In his last fight, he fought on the prelim undercard of Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia against the journeyman Diego Luque. But compared to Lee's last two opponents, which were Zachary Ochoa and Will Madera, Luque was a step back in competition. Looking at Luque's last 7 fights, he lost 6 of them and had a draw in one. So that's a major step back in competition. Like, god damn. But Lee did express that he wanted to fight a top 15 guy next, and I believe that's the best move for him next. Because Lee has the potential to be a star in boxing. He has a fan friendly style, has power, gets KOs, and he has a potential large fan base. He's half Korean, half Mexican, and he's from California. If you know anything about California, there's a lot of Korean people, there's a lot of Mexican people, and there's a lot of Asian people that would gladly support and be fans of Brandun Lee. Also, Brandun Lee has been fighting on bigger cards, such as the Spence Ugas prelim undercard, and just recently the Tank Hector Garcia undercard. So finding a top 15 guy next would definitely fast track him to being that star in boxing. And with Josh Taylor vacating 3 of the belts at 140, this gives an opportunity for Lee to put himself in title eliminator position or for a title shot by the end of this year or next year. So let's see the potential matchups that he can do next. First, let's rule out the champions currently at 140 because he won't be fighting them next. That's Alberto Puello, who's the WBA champion, Josh Taylor, who's the WBO champion, and Regis Prograis, who is the WBC champion. The IBF is currently vacant. Next, we got to rule out other promotional fighters because right now Lee's fighting with Showtime PBC. So I don't see him fighting a guy from Top Rank or Matchroom next. So that means no Teofimo Lopez, no Ryan Garcia, no Liam Paro, no Richardson Hitchens, Montana Love, Jose Cepeda, or Ramirez. And yeah, we gotta rule them guys out. So that leaves us with mainly Showtime guys and PBC guys, and also smaller promotions that will be willing to put their guys at risk. Right now, Lee's ranked number 11 in the IBF and 15 in the WBC. So we'll just have to assume these guys will probably be his next opponent. First is Gary Antoine Russell, who's number 3 in the WBC and 10 in the IBF, but he's supposed to fight Alberto Puello for the WBA championship later this year, so he's out the question. Sabril Matias, he's number 2 in the IBF, but he's facing Jeremiah Ponce for the vacant IBF in February, so that rules him out. Then you have Sergey Lipinets. He's number 5 in the WBC, and he's the WBC silver champion. That fight can definitely happen since they're both with PBC, and they just fought on the same card together. Sergey Lipinets also just came up a good one against Omar Figueroa. So finding a guy that's a known name at 140 would definitely be favorable for Brandun Lee, and that's also a winnable fight in my opinion. Then you have Andy Hirooka, a Japanese guy that's ranked in number 9 in IBF, but he's associated with Top Rank because he's part of the NUA team. So I'm not sure if that fight could even be made. But imagine if Fulton fought NUA and he put Brandun Lee versus Hirooka on the undercard. That would be a great fight. Then you have Sandro Martin, who's number 2 in the WBC and number 15 in the IBF. Sandro Martin is now known to the majority of boxing fans because he defeated Mike Garcia in an upset and then had a controversial loss against Teofimo Lopez. So fighting him and getting a win over Sandro Martin would definitely be a good name on his resume. But that fight could be tricky for Brandun Lee as well because Sandro Martin is a pure boxer and a mover. And in the Zachary Ochoa fight, Brandun Lee had trouble cutting off the ring. And Sandro Martin's a better boxer than Zachary Ochoa. So he can possibly upset Lee or make him look bad. But we'll just have to see. Then you have Shojan Igershev. He's number 4 in the IBF and number 11 in the WBC. That fight can definitely happen because Shojan is with Salida Promotions, and I've seen Salida fighters fight on Showtime PBC before, so that fight can be made. But also, that fight could be dangerous as well because Shojan has power and can be an upset against Brandun Lee. Then you have Bastien Bastella. He's number 4 in the IBF, number 14 in the IBF actually. He's a French fighter, and he's unknown to most of the boxing fans in the United States. So maybe the fans won't accept that. But that guy has a low KO ratio, meaning he doesn't have a lot of power, which will be a non-risky fight in my opinion for Brandon Lee. Then you have Ives Ules Jr. He's number 14 in WBC. He's a Canadian guy who stopped the Cletus Tilden hype train back in the day and also beat Zachary Ochoa. And his only losses were close decisions. So that's a good fighter that Lee could win over, but he's also unknown to most of boxing fans. So once again, will the fans accept that? I'm not sure. In my opinion, I think a fight with Sergey Lipinets is the best one for Lee next. Because Lipinets is a former world champion. He's known to the majority of boxing fans because he fought Mike Garcia and lost to him, and also fought Jaron Ennis and lost to him as well. So this fight can be a measuring stick for Brandon Lee's skills based on his performance against Lipinets. Also, their styles make for a good fight, and Lipinets is the WBC silver champion. Even though that's kind of meaningless, winning a belt will look good for Brandon Lee. Could you imagine Brandon Lee as the co-main event against Sergey Lipinets to a main event of Jaron Ennis versus Roman Villa? That would be fireworks. Someone told Showtime and PBC to call me for matchmaking because I swear I got the sauce. But drop a comment, leave a suggestion of who Lee should fight next. But who knows, this is boxing, anything can happen. But thank you for tuning in with Ayo Boxing with Madiba. Hit like and subscribe, and more content's coming your way.